welcome to another wonderful talk on the positive future for health at PainFree. And today we have Anna Castleton, as I say now, Anna Castleton. Where did we meet? She is a very special lady, and I know you're going to really enjoy this talk today. We met recently at Bath, at the People's Reset, all about positive future and setting up the future and building the future that we want. If we don't want that, what's the future we are building? So the People's Reset was amazing in Bath by Dan Austin Gregory and team. Yeah, so we got chatting, Anna and I got chatting, and I thought I have to have you on my podcast. I'm so pleased that she said yes, because I think this is actually a subject, a method. You don't call it art therapy, do you? You said there's something about that, about art therapy.
It's not
But
traditional art therapy. Do you want
mm,
me to explain why?
yeah, I'm going to leave you all to it in a moment. Absolutely. I actually wanted to be an art therapist way back, and I took another route. But I am a bit of an artist myself. I think we all got a little bit of artistic flair in us, but it's much more than that, isn't it? So,
Yes.
without further ado, welcome everybody. I hope you enjoyed the talk. And Anna, do tell us about yourself. How did you get into all of this? What's it all about?
Yes. Well, welcome everybody. It's lovely to see you, although I can't see everybody, but I guess that's how it is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
sure they can hear you. Let me know
Yeah.
if you have any problems, anybody. But yes, they can hear.
Yes. So I see somebody who I know, but who doesn't know me, and this is Jackie Devoy down here. And hello, Jackie. I was just watching Jake Fern doing your portrait last night. So I can't hear you because you're muted, but maybe you want to be muted.
I'm just going to keep everybody on mute for the talk, and then what we're
Oh,
going to do
okay.
is we're
Okay,
going to
fine.
give everybody.
Everybody's on mute. Right.
Oh, even Anna. Oops, I'm taking you off too. Sorry, Anna. If you don't just want to click that unmute, and then it's all yours. You can just click that. That's it. Thank you.
Right, right, good. Okay, so as Althea said, we met in Bath at the Great Reset, and we bonded over 3 days and found that we had quite a lot in common. And on the third day, I started to tell her about painting from the soul. And she said, "Would you like to come on my podcast?" And I said, yes, very without much thought, really, because this is my first podcast and it's quite scary. But here I am.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yes. So I'm going to tell you how I got into painting from the soul. I grew up in Kenya, or Kenya as we knew it then. And at independence, my parents came over to England, and we all came over. I was a very shy colonial. I'd led a very outdoor life, riding ponies and competing in show jumping and cross country and all that stuff. I didn't know anything about art or culture. Um, my mother wanted me to go to secretarial college because she felt that that would be a safe job with good pay, but admin is not one of my skills, so that wouldn't have been a very winning combination. So I manifested a heart murmur, which meant I had to see a specialist, and I missed the beginning of secretarial college. So instead, I went to art school in Hastings, a very small art school, and from there, I went on to St. Martin's, where I did graphics and illustration. And I knew I was absolutely hopeless. I knew nothing about art. I mean, I was supposed to be quite good at art at school. I had painted a tree with a yellow background, which was admired by other pupils. But really, I was fairly ignorant. And I remember that one of the, in those days, quite a lot of the teachers were working artists, and they would come in to supplement their income. And one of them was the son of, I've forgotten his name, a wonderful poster artist. And he sat down beside me, and I was drawing a house with something on the roof. And he sat down beside me and he said, "What's this on the roof?" And I said, "It's shading." And he said, "Well, what's it doing there?" And I said, "I don't know, but I think you're supposed to have shading." So that was sort of my entry into art college. One of my tutors was the assistant art director of the Economist newspaper. And when I had finished my 3 years and was doing my exams, he found me in the corridor and he said, we're looking for an assistant, a design assistant, and we've seen lots of girls, but we haven't found anybody we like. And we'd like you to go and have an interview with the art director. And I said, what, now? And he said, yes. And it was pouring with rain. I was dressed in art student gear, had a short denim mini skirt on, holes in my stockings. And he said, take a cab to St. James's Street. And you'll find him on the 12th floor of the Economist building. And I thought, well, I haven't actually got any money for a cab. So I walked all the way from Charing Cross Road to St. James's Street, and I arrived looking like a drowned rat. And I went up to the 12th floor and I had an interview with Peter Dunbar, the art director. And because I was so shy and unconfident, I hadn't really put together a portfolio. My portfolio was a locker that was shoved in paintings and stuff, in the back. Anyway, we chatted away, and then he looked around and he said, where's your portfolio? So I thought, oh my God. So I said, well, it's in the country with my parents. And he said, oh, well, when will you be getting it? So I thought, got to have time to put this thing together. So I said, oh, in about 3 weeks. And he said, okay, fine. He said, well, why don't you stick around the office and see how we work, file some photographs and things, which I did. The other assistant was called Annie, and she was so delighted that I was filing these boring photographs. And 6 o'clock came and he said, well, we're probably going for a drink. Do you want to join us? So I said, yeah, I'd love to. So we jumped in a black cab and we arrived in Soho. And later that night, somewhere in Soho, my tutor, Pip Piper, joined us. And about 4 a.m, Peter said, you're hired. So I was hired for £10 a week.
Wow, you obviously clicked. Fantastic.
Yes. So that was my first and only real job, actually. Although I am a psychotherapist, I guess that's a real job, but it's not in an office.
Mm.
So where did I go from there? I spent 8 years there and I freelanced for them for 4 years. And then I got married and had children. And then, I don't know, early 80s, I had everything that I could possibly want, but I was quite depressed. I felt very unfulfilled. I had a husband, 2 children, a large detached house in Wandsworth, which is worth an absolute fortune now. But something was missing. And it was in the early 80s when people were being made redundant. We had moved to south of the river. We were early pioneers. And I knew somebody who had an agency for people who'd moved south of the river. And she wanted to put together a newsletter so that local traders could make offers, the carpet shop and things. And so she asked me whether I would put it together. And I knew somebody in the area I'd been the Economist with, so I got her to write the editorial. And we put it together on the office photocopier, broke the photocopier, but got all these newsletters out. We all went away for Easter after that and came back and said, we need to put together a magazine for the area, for south of the river, which we did, and we called it Southside. And I'm rushing through this in order to get to where I actually started painting from the soul.
It's interesting because who a person is and what you do and what you've been through is the why you're doing what you do today.
Exactly. There is a journey that takes you to what you're doing today.
And it's lovely to hear your life story, how it all went,
I'm trying to get the life story into the time. Yes. So
Well
yes. So we've got this magazine. we use our children to distribute it, and it becomes quite successful. After 2 years, it's become successful. And my husband is the business manager because he's been made redundant from his job. And then we're approached by United Newspapers to buy us out. And so my husband, who was a seasoned negotiator, was doing the negotiations, but I was working with two other women, and one of them was quite paranoid. And she said to the other one, I think they're doing something behind our backs. They're trying to get the money or whatever, which was absolutely not true. We were negotiating for all four of us. So without resort to me, they sacked him. And I then had to decide whether I would stay on with the magazine or not. And my husband, Trevor, said to me, I don't mind if you stay on, but don't bring work home in the evening. But I was burnt out. I used to burn out a lot in those days because I was very driven. So I decided to leave, and he negotiated a buyout for me. And my two colleagues split the 500,000 between them, which was a lot of money in those days. But what I thought was, somehow I've constellated this situation. And if I don't change myself, it's going to appear again in another form.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I was exhausted and I went to Greyshot. I don't know if any of you remember Greyshot Health Farm.
Yeah. I've been there. Yeah.
You've been there, Althea, yes. We
Yeah. My
probably
mum,
were
my
there at the
mum,
same time, but we didn't know
it
each
could
other.
have been. I know. My mum loved all that sort of thing. So it's like, come on, daughter, come on. I thought, yep, okay, fine.
Lovely. Well,
Yeah.
I arrived at Greyshot and I saw on the notice board that there was a talk on the Saturday evening by an astrologer. And I'd always been interested in astrology. So I went to the talk, and he was an astrologer, but with his other hat on, he was a Jungian analyst. And so he talked to us, and at the end he said, if anybody would like their chart read, give me your details and I'll read it to you in the morning. And I was like a greyhound. I said, me, I want my chart read. And so I went to see him in the morning, and it was just such an eye-opener. All my conflict with my parents and my upbringing and all of that was there. So I
Mm.
said to him, I'd like to come and see you with your other hat on. So I did. I had 2 years of Jungian analysis with him. And then I thought I really would like to do this work myself. So I started training in the early 90s with the Psychosynthesis Trust. And that is a therapy with a soul. It has a transpersonal aspect to it. And so I trained for 3 years, and then I ran a practice for a few years. And then fast forward to 2000, I think. I was living near Lewes, and I was going to a painting class in Lewes, run by a Welsh woman called Sue Barry. I said, "Oh, I've borrowed a friend's basement. I'm doing this new kind of painting. It's called Painting from the Source." And she said, "You need a lot of space for it." And that's what I'm doing. And I was really interested. And so I realized that I could get a book, which is this book. This is Aviva Gold, Painting from the Source. And I thought, I want to do this. And I could combine my psychotherapy with painting. And so I went away to the Alps for a month and thought about it and came back, decided to do it. A friend lent me her studio for the first 3 sessions. She said, pay me 50 quid a day and give people 3 options to come. And I did, and that was it. And I've got at the time, I was living in Framfield near Uckfield, and I had a big wooden studio in the garden, big green shed, which took a lot of people. So I started advertising. And so that's how I started Painting from the Soul.
And what did you do with these people?
Well,
Painting
I
from
think
the
it's more what did I do with myself to begin with?
Okay.
So I had the studio, I had all the paints, which are these poster paints.
Mhm.
And I woke up one morning, early hours, sort of roiling and boiling, feeling very angry with Trevor, my husband. And it was May and it was light. And lying there, I thought, oh, and I suddenly thought I could paint this out. So I quietly left the room in my pajamas, went to the studio. I had a board on the floor that I'd already been painting on, and I poured water on it and I skated on it quite dangerously. And then I had a big piece of canvas material, which was 2 meters wide and about 1.5 meters deep. And I put that on the floor next to the board. And then I took my pajamas off and I rolled on the board. And then I rolled onto the canvas. And that was the beginning of my first painting. And then after a couple of hours, I had a shower and went back to bed as if nothing had happened. And
Did it get all the anger out?
it did a very good job, yes. So there's a photo of me painting that painting. Can you see it all right?
Yes, yes, lovely.
Yes, yes. And that was the end result of that painting. So yes, so that was my first experience, and yes, it calmed me down considerably. So where do we want to go from there, Althea? Help me out.
Yes, you were advertising, and then what happened? People came
What
and
happens?
people go.
People came. Now I'm going to tell you about how painting from the soul works.
Mm.
Um, so materials, we use very inexpensive poster paints in 18 colors. These are easy to paint over and easy to wash if you make a mess. We have a load of different brushes of all different sizes, sponges and scrapers and anything you fancy, really. And as you've already heard, you can paint with your body if you so feel inclined.
Gal, come on, get on
um,
there.
I use A1 paper, which is about that size. It's
That's
actually
the big
not as
one, isn't it?
but it's, yeah, about that size. And it's very good quality because we're going to paint over and over and over. And what else do I want for I think that's it.
So I'm a creative person, like
Yeah.
many. That amazing picture behind you, I don't think I can do anything like that. I mean, could you literally sort of splodge and lines and splodge? Or, I mean, what is it? What's the direction you give people? Do they have to be artists?
No, I think that's a really good point, Althea, because we're brought up to think that people who are artists are kind of special people, and that they're able to do something that others can't. But actually, we're all artists. We're all creative, and when we're small, we paint away. And what I like to try and do is get people back into feeling as if they're 4 years old before judgment kicks in.
Mm.
Because although you're seeing this painting, I've got loads of others which are splodgy and nothing. And I should have maybe had, I've just put this up because I'm going to dialogue with it at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, you don't have to have any painting experience or talent or think that you have, because we can all do it. And
Um, um, what's the direction you get? So the people come. Why would they come? What? So you call it painting from not
painting from the soul,
from the soul, and
yes.
what do you say to invite people to come? What are they going to?
Well,
What are they
I
expecting?
I and I'm supposed to have it in front of me. Here we are. Um, I initially just put out flyers like this. Can you see?
Yes, lovely.
So it says an invitation to play, painting from the soul. Be more spontaneous, express more of yourself, release your creativity, no experience of art necessary. And then the price and the place and what have you, £70, all materials included. So often people see this flyer and they don't even question it. They see an invitation to play, painting from the soul, and they say, oh, I'd like to come. that's just what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
So I didn't in the beginning have to sell it very hard at all. People just came. So when they come, we've got all these materials and the space, and there are 3 ground rules at the beginning of a session. And the first one is that you don't comment on anybody else. Well, no, sorry. The first one is that it's a confidential space. You can talk about your own experience, but not other people's. And the second one is that you don't comment on anybody else's painting throughout the day,
Mm.
either positively or negatively. You might say to somebody, oh, that's an exciting painting. And they think, oh, better not spoil it. So it's really important to be in a safe
Yeah.
place without any comment. The next one is that you have to stay on the one piece all the time, because what happens is that people get to a point where they want to start again.
Mm.
And it's my job to facilitate you through that. If you've got an image that's growing to the sides or the top or the bottom, you can add pieces of paper, but you can't get a new one. And I've forgotten what the last ground rule is. Perhaps it'll come back to me.
So you can't comment on each other's in any way, and you've got to stay on the same paper all day,
Yes,
and it's confidential.
yes. Maybe that's it. If I've forgotten one, it might come.
Okay. And it's all day. So what do you say when they come? What's the direction
So
for the day?
when people arrive, the first thing we do is gather in a circle because it's really important to find out how people are feeling. Because people might be feeling also. I mean, what might you feel, Althea? Here you
Um,
are.
Here I am in the class. I might feel excited but apprehensive, ready to get
Yes,
going, but sort of mixed, I think.
mixed. Yes. So when people hear that other people are feeling terrified sometimes, or whatever it is they're feeling, it kind of allows that to be expressed, which is really important to begin with. So that's how we start. And that's not very long, but it's just really tuning into every person who's there. And then we need to get into our bodies because this is a very physical process. So I put on some music and invite everybody to dance, which is
Okay.
quite scary for some people.
Mm.
And so I say, if you feel self-conscious, just close your eyes and stay in the corner. And I've never had anybody who hasn't danced, I don't think. Um, and
If you
then,
close your eyes, it's much easier, isn't it? I mean, I
yes,
do a lot of this conscious dance thing by ILO in my group, and yeah, it's just about getting your body to move and express and just see what it's doing. And
exactly, yes. And we want to be fully embodied for this process. And Aviva, who is American, she says, you've got to be embodied and you've got to embody your painting. So yeah, so that's how we start. And then everybody, as far as I can, I have people standing up. And where I do it at the moment in Paddock Studios in Lewis, there are easels, and so everybody's standing because it's really important to paint from your whole body if you can.
okay.
Um, People who've done it before
Mm.
just go straight in. People who are new, who want some help, I give them a choice to say either have you got a dream or a memory or something in your mind or something triggered you on the way here that you might start your painting with. And there are some people who would like an exercise to be taken into the painting. So I invite them to fill up their palettes with any paint that they like. It's really important to allow your intuition to choose the paints and the brushes. And so they fill up their palettes and I take them through an exercise, which is just like paint a circle, paint a square, triangle, stick figure, tree. And, you know, these are all very simple, obvious symbols, but the paintings that come out are completely different. The
Mm.
sizes of the symbols, the colors, the placing, all everything is different.
Yeah,
So that gets people into the painting. I also encourage people to maybe try their non-dominant hand, because we're trying to get into the right side of the brain.
yeah,
We're very conditioned in our society to be left-brained,
definitely.
to be, the intellectual is really prized and valued.
Mm.
And this is all about getting into our feelings and emotions, and
Mm.
also getting into the most difficult and dark parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we might not even admit to ourselves. So, and then we just paint,
Mm.
and we'll paint till lunchtime. But my job is to keep an antenna out to see how people are doing. And so somebody might have stopped painting. I get a sense that somebody is not painting. So I just go up quietly, and I'm going to pretend it's you, Althea.
Okay, I've stopped.
You've stopped. And so I'm going to come and say, what's happening? What might be happening to you mid-morning, do you think? You're painting away, and
I don't know what to do next. I've come to the end of my painting. I'm not allowed to come off the painting, and I've run out of any more to do but the same. So I've stuck. I got stuck.
you've got stuck. Yes, that's a really good example. I like that. You've run out of steam. You've been there half the morning and you're stuck.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'd say to you, what color is stuck for you?
Grey, light grey.
Light gray. And what body movement or expression would if you were stuck, how would you move or not move, probably?
Um, Constrictor. So wrap my arms around me, or it's triangles, all angular shapes, all on top of each other, and uh,
Right. So you'd be restricted
yeah,
and all these triangular shapes.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say to you, okay, fill up your palette with light gray
Mhm.
and paint from this place.
Cool.
And very soon, I mean, I would then move quietly away, and very soon when I look round, you'd be well into this painting with the grey and the body and the triangles. And so my job really just
Interesting.
is as a facilitator to
Mm,
help people when they get stuck.
mm.
Um,
The whole idea is to kind of, it's almost like an artistic way of journaling. Then you're pouring on that page what's instinctively the colors, and then it's sort of you're getting into your body, you're getting into your um, dark anything's there, and you just you encourage the expression onto the paper, and it's releasing then, isn't it? It's releasing whatever's that you're not addressing, or any problems you have,
yes,
or
well, that's a very good place to talk about the difference between conventional art therapy and painting from the soul or painting from the source. Conventional art therapy analyzes and talks about the image, but with soul painting, it is the actual process of painting that moves everything through. So you are connecting with your unconscious, and you're painting from that place. And
mm,
as you do, all sorts of things might come up that you don't wish to know about. And so people will suddenly think, oh, I was going to ring the plumber this morning. Oh, I'll go and do that now. So
mm,
all sorts of
distraction. Mm,
displacement comes up. That's because you start to touch on parts of yourself that really want to express, but are very unfamiliar or perhaps not very nice. And so, the conscious mind just says, oh, I wonder if it's break time yet, or I think I'll get a cup of tea. So it's important to notice all those things in yourself
mm.
because they're all part of the process.
Yeah, we do all sorts of things to avoid horrible thing.
We do.
We,
Yes.
we, we
Yes.
attack other people and blame. We go within and self-attack as well, or victim-fied, or as you say, distract. Lots of people distract, and haven't got time for themselves or something. Just keep on
Well,
moving.
that's very common in this modern world, isn't it?
Mm,
Distraction. And we are encouraged to be very distracted all the
we
time.
are. Mm,
Um, there's all this entertainment is at the touch of a button. And I think it takes, for me, it's taken a lifetime to come back to myself, to come back in and take time and be quiet. And I'm just looking for something I've written that I wanted to say, but I'm not sure I'm going to find it. But it is about coming back to yourself, and it's
yeah.
about loving life and loving yourself. And this process really helps that.
Mm. And so what sort of results do people feel? I mean, I presume you don't have to be sort of broken and damaged inside to enjoy this and to come back to yourself to have a benefit from this and to enjoy it.
Not
It
at
could
all.
be stress at work and a bit fed up of life or anything, sort of
Yeah.
simple human things.
Yes. Well, quite a few people come to me who've been told at school that they can't draw or paint.
Mm.
And they've lived with that for the rest of their lives. They think, oh, I can't draw or paint, and that's it. But then they see my leaflet and it says, no experience necessary, et cetera, et cetera. And they think, oh, well, I'll give it a go. So no, you don't have to be broken or traumatized at all. It's for everybody. And it's bringing back the joy of being 4 years old. When the
Yeah,
4-year-old paints a picture, often that the sky's up there, isn't it? It's a blue line,
yeah, yeah,
and then there's a big gap. Or there's usually a big round sun with
yeah,
rays coming out, and then the house is down here, and then there might be another gap, and there's grass down at the bottom, isn't there?
yeah,
But you don't say, well, why haven't you joined the sky up to the house and the house up to the grass? You just say, wow, love your painting.
yeah.
But as we progress, all these other voices come in, and all these pressures come in, and all this can't think of the word. I don't mean brainwashing, but there's another word.
Sort of a
Conditioning.
line and
Conditioning. So
conditioning.
yeah, so that brings me to another really important aspect of the day that we're on now, all of us together, I hope. Um, um, when people start painting, very quickly the inner critic is aroused, because there's a room full of people, and although you can't comment on anybody else's painting, inside everybody is commenting like crazy.
We're all doing it.
So there are slidey eyes all around the room, and people thinking, well, she knows what she's doing. Oh my God, my painting's terrible. Oh, look at that. Oh, and so all this gets started.
Yeah.
And this is also part of my job, is to find out what's being said by the inner critic.
Mm.
So are you going to be a model for this again, Althea, or does anybody else
Go on then.
have an inner
Right,
critic? What about
yeah,
Jackie? Have you got an inner critic, or are you just staying quiet? She's
uh,
staying quiet. Yes.
does anybody just put your digital hand up or just wave your hand if you want to be the guinea pig? Great.
Yes.
Yes.
Unmute yourself.
Hello there.
Hello, Jackie. Thank you for volunteering to be a
That's
guinea
okay.
pig.
I like being the guinea pig.
What might your inner critic be saying?
Well, I've been in that situation before in art groups, and actually, I'm quite confident really in things that I do. So I might think mine is different to someone else's, but I wouldn't necessarily think it was better or worse. So, but yeah, you automatically compare, but you don't automatically criticize. Well, I don't, not even myself.
Well, I
So
don't think you're a
I,
very good example for this.
my inner critic is a little bit disabled, I think. But that my mum was an art therapist, so
Ah,
I've heard all this stuff
right.
well. So she kind of taught me to be confident with things like that and not to be too self-critical.
Brilliant.
which is
Yes.
very useful. And she said, like you said, everyone can paint, everyone can put marks on paper, but most people are too scared to do it.
Yeah.
Having said that, when I moved down here to the seaside, I'm not far from you. I'm in Shoreham by Sea.
Oh, good.
I thought I'm going to start doing painting because I hadn't done any for a long time, and I did one painting as soon as I got here, and that's all I've done in 4 years. And I don't know why. I was just thinking, why haven't I done it? And I've got the easel set up just over there, and I keep looking, and I've got my painting on it from 4 years ago, and I keep looking and thinking I must do another one. I do not know I don't know what's stopping me at all. I've even got blank canvases and paints there.
Yes.
Stopping me, and
What you're describing is very, very common, I think.
Okay.
Yes, very common. Which is why people join groups, because that gives the continuity and commitment. And on your own, I think it's very, very hard to stay committed.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that you look at Aviva Gold's website,
Oh, yeah.
Painting from the Source,
Yeah.
because that's all about how to paint at home and how to keep painting.
Yeah.
In 2000, I met somebody who was a fan of Aviva's, and we got talking, and we decided to bring her over. We decided to put on a workshop, which we did in the Tin Tabernacle in Barkham. And Aviva came over for a week, and we had 19 people for the weekend. And then we had 3 days of training. So I trained with her. And the reason I call mine Painting from the Soul is because I just did it off my own bat.
Yeah.
And I hadn't actually trained with her. If I trained with her at the beginning, I would be calling it Painting from the Source. But, source and soul mean different things to different people, but they are very related. So I think getting that book, or just going on her website, actually. So Aviva died in August this last year, I think. I'm a bit confused. I think it was last year, on the August full supermoon. She was in her 80s. But, she's a tremendous inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanted to say actually that sorry, but I'm going to have to leave the meeting at 1:45 because I've got another meeting. But
okay.
Are you recording it, Althea? You are, aren't you? Will we be able to see it again after?
Absolutely. The recording will be ready within 48 hours, and that'll be sent straight to your email.
Oh, that would be great. I don't want to miss anything.
No, for those who are maybe watching.
Do you have any question before you go, Jackie?
No, I was just very interested in listening and commenting on what you're saying. But it does resonate with me quite a lot, and I do want to start painting. And I know how healing it can be. My mum worked in mental health initially for 35 years. She never actually had the confidence to set up a practice herself. She stayed working within the hospital environment, in a mental hospital, and she just did this. She set up a studio within the hospital and invited the patients. They were all inpatients back then, to the studio to paint. And she didn't get paid any extra for doing it. She just did it because she felt it was a good thing to do and it would benefit them. So, and I do try and encourage other people to paint if they're feeling stressed. Just like you said, most people's reaction is, oh, I can't paint. I can't do that. I'm not an artist. Like you're saying, and yeah, I think it's good to tell people that everyone's an artist. You can, even if you don't like it, throw it away and start again. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly. It's only a painting. You can burn it at the end. And that just leads me to these. These are the sort of things that are up on the wall when people come. We are here to play. I did a session with my yoga teacher and friend Sophie. She invited me, and I put this up, and she said, "Why have you got that injunction that we're here to play?" I said, "It's not an injunction, it's an invitation."
Yeah.
So I invite people to play. Paint as if you're going to burn it.
Exactly what we're
That's
saying.
exactly what we were saying, and literally paint as if you're going to burn it. Trust the process.
Yeah.
And also that means trusting yourself. Often we don't trust ourselves, but trust the process. There are no mistakes, no accidents. You cannot do it wrong.
Well, these are all things my mum used to say, and she was very into Jung as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was naturally drawn to Jung and the philosophy in all areas, So, and in fact, I was, you were saying you're interested in horoscopes. I actually used to write like magazine horoscopes for many, many
Oh,
years.
did you?
Yeah, I had lots of columns. And my mum, I remember her looking at my I used to do dream analysis as well for magazines, have these little columns. My mum used to read some of my stuff, and she said your analysis is very Jungian, and I was like, really?
Oh,
I
fancy that.
I took it as a compliment.
Yes.
I hadn't really read much at the time, but yeah,
I reckon I used to read your columns years ago.
probably
I'm sure I did. The Jackie Devoy name was sort of somewhere in the rusty boxes of my brain, and I'm sure I used to, because my mum used to buy me all these magazines and newspapers, and they're always about, and I loved reading all those sort of things. I swear, you were one of my favorite columnists way back. I'm talking teenage time or something.
I know. I worked on just 17 More magazine and New Woman and all those sort of young women's magazines back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, amazing, amazing.
I'm going to have
But
to
just
love you
sorry.
and leave you now because I've
Yep.
so annoying. I've got this other meeting, but I've changed it once already, so I can't change it again.
No
Okay,
worries.
Jackie, lovely to see you.
Really
We'll
lovely
get
to
the
see you.
recording in your email, and it'll be on my website as well.
Do you say you were holding your classes over in Lewes still?
Yeah,
Because I could pop over. It's not that far from here. I'm sure it'd
excellent. Be lovely to see you.
be
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
good.
Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful. Bye, Jackie. And so, Anna, you're saying that you're going to take us through something about the painting. Is that what you did already? Do you mean, or you were going to?
Well, something that I haven't done yet. You were asking me about the healing aspect, and I'm thinking particularly of Aviva. When Aviva started, she was actually a professional painter, and she invested a great deal in that persona. But she struggled and she had a lot of health issues. And she went to a 5-day, it wasn't called Painting from the Source or Painting from the Soul, but it was a 5-day painting kind of healing thing. And she absolutely struggled because she was professional. And she fought it and fought it for days until she finally gave in. But one of the things that she did paint was she painted away her arthritis. And I think if I
Very
remember
interesting.
rightly, she had a painting with all these little sort of goblins and things who were sticking pins in her. And her health improved immeasurably.
Because, of course, we are all just expressions of what we think and feel and what we've been through. We're like a sort of
Right. Yeah,
some total, a physical expression or emotional
yeah,
expression.
yeah,
So, some people might think, well, how on earth did she do that? But then you're living and breathing and thinking your whole life in the moment all the time. So
yes,
I guess that as she connected to the feelings in her, those feelings released.
yes,
Something like
exactly.
that.
Yes, because by putting them out, she was
Mm.
connecting with them and owning them.
Yeah.
And also, I think that there is always help there. I believe that I'm divinely guided.
Yeah.
And I think that when we become calmer and more open, the help is always there by
There it is.
whatever medium you go through.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I totally feel that. And I see, in your work, I see the reflections through what I do and through even just it reflects everywhere. Even talking to I've had the builders in recently, and the way they talk about putting things together and making and fixing, it's the same language. Everything's connected. You know,
Yes,
this thing is not the problem. It's a reflection of all other parts.
yes, yes, absolutely.
And I love this sort of artistic space. And I wanted to say that it's really mind-body connection, isn't it? Because right in the beginning of the talk, you talked about manifesting a heart murmur to get out of thing you didn't want to do. So
Yes,
little girl you couldn't say, no, Mum, I don't want to do it. Thanks.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
but
And
what
it
did you do?
served me. I think it's still murmuring, but it's no problem.
Great. That's good. And it will be, because back at a little girl stage, it was a winning formula for you, because it got you into the place you were supposed to be, which is your artistic
Absolutely.
avenue.
Yes.
And I find the body so fascinating. I mean, as a therapist, I've been a therapist all my life, and I I see the body as like a doorway to the person. And when we have physical symptoms, they're just manifestations, but how do you get rid of them? So this artistic, creative way, I think, is really, really beautiful, because it's almost like artistically journaling. You're putting it out there, as you say,
Yeah.
as Viva did to get rid of her arthritis.
Yes.
And it's the process of it. You can't analyze. You can analyze it, but that doesn't make any difference. You got to do it.
It
And
is the process. It's the doing of it. And I like the analogy with journaling, because what you're doing is you're journaling with the paint. And the paint is incredibly sensuous. It's also very cheap, so you can use as much as you like. You know, we're brought up to think that we can't waste stuff.
yeah.
But one of the things about my workshop is that it's abundant. You can have as much paint as you like and as many brushes as you like. You can't have as much paper as you like unless you're adding it on. You've got an image, then you can add it on. But everything else you can have as much as you like. And that's not very prevalent in our society. You know, we're taught not to be wasteful, and
Yes.
resources are scarce. Well, the
Yeah.
resources in my workshop are absolutely not scarce. They're there to be played with.
And
And
as you said, it's like bringing you back into the childhood. And I have two children myself, and watching them go through those early stages, children are abundant. I mean, I
mm,
find my daughter, and the whole kitchen was smelling of curry.
yes,
She got all the spices out and mixed
yes,
all of it up and doing all her experiments. And these days she's a wonderful artist, a wonderful cook. She's very connected mentally, and I think it all comes from the freedom we have in early years, and you're taking
yes.
people back to that freedom of there is abundance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this actually embodies that freedom. People experience it painting in that way. And certainly my two grandchildren, who went when they were, I don't know, 8 and 5, came up here, and I gave them canvas on the floor and gave them something to wear. And they went crazy with the paints. They used so much, and the clearing up was so horrendous. After that, I had to draw some boundaries, but it was amazing.
Fantastic. I bet they absolutely loved it.
They did, yes, and they're
Oh,
so creative. They're amazing.
fantastic. And I think creativity is an important aspect of freedom of mind, freedom of body. Creativity comes from the sacral chakra, which is our sacral area. There's sort of deep womany bits, or deep in your gut for a man,
Oh,
and
deep womanly bits. I like that.
deep womany bits, or the deep center, the lower gut in a man. And it's the sacral area is orange. It's the creativity, it's the expression, it's the connection to you. So doing arty, creative anything doesn't have to be necessarily art, but anything creative, cooking and imagining things, or doing your gardening or something. Creativity,
Everything can be done creatively, actually, everything in life.
everything.
I just
And it
want
connects you to you.
to draw your attention to these. So I'll just read it out. Life is playfulness. We need to play so that we can rediscover the magic all around us. That's somebody called Flora Kalau. I don't know who she is. And this one is, yet it is in our idleness, in our dreams, that the submerged truth sometimes comes to the top. Virginia Woolf.
Mm.
So it is coming to rest, isn't it? And just moodling. I do a lot of
Mood,
moodling. Yes.
moodling, doodling, moodling. I like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Moodling.
Sometimes I have a bed day, when I don't achieve anything. And I find that extraordinarily creative, all sorts of ideas. The bed starts getting covered in books, and photographs and all, you know, we're so rushed in this life.
So sort of contained and sort of channel into one direction, and no, not this, not that. Stop daydreaming. I was always told to stop daydreaming, wake up, pay attention.
Daydreaming is the most creative thing you can do. It's brilliant. I
Brilliant.
thoroughly advise daydreaming. Yes.
Totally. I just took my daughter who's a bit of an artist, to the Brit School in South London,
Mhm.
and they have one of the top academic achievements in the country. And I was thinking, like, well, of course they do, because the whole place is absolutely creative. Even the heads wore a pinstripe suit, and I thought, oh yes, here he is. And I looked down his feet, and he had sandals on, Jesus creepers. And he said, I dressed up for the parents, but normally I don't wear anything at all. I thought, okay.
I've just recently read about that school,
It was
and
in
I'm just
Victoria.
looking at the clock
Yeah,
because it's hurrying towards time.
it is.
And
Did you say everything you wanted to say about the art
um,
expression, art, painting from the
mostly, I
soul?
mean, we haven't done dialoguing with the painting. I don't know if we want to. Do we want to do dialoguing with the painting?
What's dialoguing with the painting?
Well,
Well,
everything in your painting is able to talk to tell you something. It could even be a black blob that you could dialogue with. So I haven't had a chat with this painting. I painted it about 10 years ago, I think, but I've never chatted with it. But I thought I could have a chat while we're here, a short chat,
let's
and
chat.
just see if there's somewhere.
Does
So
your painting want to chat?
I think it's important to ask the painting, actually,
Okay.
are you painting, are you willing to talk to me and get a sense? Oh, there's a big yes coming. Yes.
Oh,
So I'm
hear
just
it.
looking to see when you talk to your painting, just get a sense of where in the painting you're drawn, what bit of the painting wants to talk to you, because these kind of paintings, it's all about letting the painting paint itself. It's not coming from your mind. It's coming from your heart and your gut. And so it's a very intuitive process. And if you can get out of here and the inner critic, then the painting will always tell you what it needs. You know, halfway through the day, you might have got to your stuck place, Althea. But if you just relax, don't rely on me coming to get you out of it. Just relax and look at your painting and say, well, what do you need next? And if you just stay tuned in and attached, something will come. It'll say, I need some details on this cat. Hasn't got any eyes. Cat needs some eyes. Whatever it is, the information will come if we trust. And I think the thing that I've taken from this way of working more than anything is trust in myself, trust in my own intuition, that
And that's
actually I know. And I certainly didn't have that when I was young. I thought
and
everybody else
that's
knew, and everybody else knew what was best for me.
as most children do, I think. And
Yeah,
listening to your own guidance is a form of self-love,
yeah,
a form of self-alignment,
yeah,
connectedness.
yeah.
What does
So,
your picture want to say?
so what is my painting? I'm just seeing which part draws me. Um, I think I'm drawn to the green snake. Can you see the green snake at the
Yes.
bottom here?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is my green viper. He does appear in imagery from time to time throughout, particularly when I was training to be a psychotherapist. The green viper would appear. I'll just ask, what have you got to tell me, green viper? He says he's my anger, but he's also my guide. He says, I let you know when you need to stand up for yourself. I let you know when somebody's crossing your boundaries. I come to you I come to you as the Green Viper and say, no. So that's his role in my life. And I could probably chat to him for some time, but we don't have the time today.
It's a bit like
I just say thank you. Thank you, painting, and thank you, Green Viper.
Thank you. And it's a bit like spirit animals or shamanism, something like that.
Yes.
Inner
Yes.
guide, inner instincts.
Yes, yes. And lots of indigenous cultures do use drawings and painting, whether they're doing it with sticks in the mud or whatever, to call on their guides and spirit animals. So
Yeah.
all sorts of things will come through your painting that you never knew about before, and that's why it's so exciting.
I love it. I love the intellect and the intrigue and the magic and the simplicity and just the childlike quality. I love it. It's really beautiful. And of course it's an expression of you. So you don't have to paint or just do splodges if you don't do because I don't think I could paint any of that, but splodges. I could do splodges.
Yes, well, I wonder if I can find an early splodge to reassure you.
And if anybody's got, because we're going to finish soon, so if anyone's got
Yes.
any questions, do pop them in the chats before we finish. If you want something, Anna, to address something, maybe something to share. Or Rose, did you want to speak?
I think
Yeah.
here's an early splodge. What do you feel about that?
Gosh,
That's
busy.
that's pretty splodgy, isn't it? Where's the camera?
Yeah.
Anyway?
Yep, we can see
Yes.
it.
So
Lots of things, and I can see lots of different. I'm very imaginative, so I guess I can see all sorts of different images. Desi, you said yes, please. Was that what was yes, please to what was that? I missed that one. Sorry, Desi. Yeah, so it's an expression of you, isn't it? I remember when
totally.
I was years ago, I was a waitress and I used to work in Dubai. And being a young, blonde, pretty girl, um, I was in this place and it was very difficult because all these Arab guys all trying to get there. And yeah, go ahead, Jesse. Do you want to come in? I'm just going to quickly say then, I was so frustrated and furious because they didn't look at me as me. They looked at me as a young, pretty girl. I was just in a restaurant. They didn't know who I was, and I didn't like all these eyes on me. And I used to do all these doodles. What did you call it? A wordle? What?
Moodling,
I mean,
moodling,
I did. I
moodling.
definitely did
Yes,
moodling, and
yes,
I did all these things. And sometimes they looked like sort of devils or dark shapes. And I looked. I thought, blimey, what's in me?
yes.
But
So
it
you
was
were
the
starting
frustration.
early.
Yeah, it was the frustration getting it out.
Yes.
What I was experiencing. Desi, do go ahead. Just we've got a couple of minutes, so please do go ahead. If you click unmute, and it's all yours. Okay. Oh, the chat with the painting, but hearing the chat with the painting, yeah. Um, so yeah, that was very interesting. And so I guess we should bring it to a close and we come to the hour. And Anna, where do you do this? Where can people get into contact with you?
I do this in Lewis. I haven't got a studio. I have got this studio, but it only takes 3 people. So I use Paddock Studios in Lewis. Where can people I don't have a website. Um,
Can they email you perhaps
they
or
can email. Good thinking. Yes. Yes.
so
I'm starting to
email
think,
Anna.
how do people get in touch with you? I can't imagine.
So I'll give your email to people on with this recording.
That would be
Is that
great. Yes,
fantastic?
that would be
So
brilliant.
do go and if they're not near Lewis and they can't come to you, perhaps they're in another part of the country or the world, where would people find something like what you do? Where would they find it? What would they look for? Because you do
Um,
paint from the soul, but that's your personal thing though, isn't it?
yes, I don't actually know of people who do the same thing, but I did during lockdown do a Zoom 2-hour session.
Oh,
So I might explore that again. That's a
okay.
possibility.
So people put your request into Anna now, and when get in contact and say you would like to do the same thing if that's interesting to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe another in this area of things, they might look for an art therapist. Perhaps not painting from the soul, but it's a little bit
But
different.
certainly an art therapist would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or go and get Aviva Gold's book, Painting from the Source.
I would really recommend Aviva Gold's book because it's absolutely bursting with stuff and it tells you how to do it at home. And it's very inexpensive. The materials are inexpensive.
Fantastic. And I'll catch you for the ISBN number for that, and I'll put it all together with the recording, and everyone's going to receive this in the email.
Yeah.
Um, and if anybody's watching this who's not on the call, not on the emails, then just get in contact. You'll see the link to come to my website, and all the details will be there. So, Anna, that's just delightful and really enchanting. You've taken us into the artistic, creative, expressive, connecting self world, and I really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody who joined us did as well. I'm sure they did. Yeah, do get in contact with Anna. So, Anna, thank you. Can I leave you with the last word? What would you like to say as a parting something to say to people who are listening to this? And would you like to say a sort of parting word, or a saying, or a focus, or can I leave that to say the last word, Anna?
Yes, I think I'd just like to say take the next step because that's what I've understood in life is that it's always just taking the next step. And if you want to do this kind of painting, take whatever just the next step is towards it.
Thank you, Anna. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for everybody.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Wonderful.